Hello and welcome to JagaVision. We are on episode 138. If you're watching this show for the first time, JagaVision is essentially a show where we drink tea, we have some interesting guests on, or some eccentric guests on, or a combination of the two. And then we make tea, we talk about stuff. We've been having a really good time this morning with my guest here, Erick Smithe with Cloudwalker Tea. He's been on the show before, countless times. 4 times? 3 times? 5 million times?
I can't count past this many. So.
Yeah. For those who don't know who you are, and that may include yourself, who is Erick Smithe and what is Cloudwalker Tea?
Cloudwalker specializes in primarily pu'er tea, both newly made and vintage pu'er tea. I've spent a great deal of time in Taiwan and some in China as well. I've represented some very large antique pu'er collections, as well as currently representing some very top producers exclusively for North America. We're back to doing Cloudwalker. Cloudwalker was my first company, which started in 2008, and I went off and ran some other ones for other people. And now, post-pandemic, we're back to our roots and serving up the straight sauce, and also in Victoria, although Cloudwalker is currently online, except if you come into Jared's shop here at 633 Courtney Street in Victoria, you can taste some of them in person as part of his reserve tea menu, which we're very excited to be able to finally offer. After knowing each other for 10 years, we finally found a way to make it happen.
We're allies and having his tea on our menu. So you can actually just ask for it on our reserve tea menu. If I actually manage to coordinate it, you'll also be able to buy portions of some of the cakes and bricks that we purchased from Erick. I do have them packed down. It is an exciting thing that I want people to be able to try. It will happen. The good news about this collection is it's going to just age nicely rather than absolutely disintegrate in flavor. Like the same thing might happen if I was doing this with some matcha, which is what we're going to be making today, which is going to be fun. But before we make some matcha, though, we were also going to taste some of this cold brew that we just did for our kombucha program. We're just going to test it out. I want to see what you have to think. All right.
I am fast becoming a matcha addict, though, thanks to Jared and his fine offerings.
Well,
although because I'm slow at doing anything in the tea industry, pu'er is the slow old man sort of tea, traditionally called old man tea. And because I'm slow to do anything, I require a tea with no expiration date.
It's funny because I
basically
it's no, I'm happy to provide it. It's good times. You know, when for those who are watching for the first time, actually, JagaSilk is that's our specialty is matcha. My business partner and wife and I, we started in 2005 and operated out of our house for 4 years, and then we had the opportunity to take over this space with a potter. There was a potter upstairs, and he did an awesome thing up there, like a pottery academy kind of thing. And then, it's been a slow build from there, but
it is one of the nicest tea shops I've ever been into. And like, it's a different flavor than, say, what's that thing? There's one in San Francisco that. Samovar in San Francisco. That's a nice tea shop. It's beautiful, airy. Pedro at 05 in Kitsilano has a beautiful tea shop. But this tea shop, if you ever get the chance to come to Victoria, has something that really is nowhere else that I know of in North America. It has that sort of somewhat Japanese aesthetic mixed with West Coast sort of natural materials. And I always feel great when I come in here.
Cool. That's nice to hear. Yeah. You know, I also just like looking out the windows with the brick and the maple tree. And even though we're inside a courtyard in the middle of downtown Victoria, you could be anywhere in the world.
You have an atrium.
I know, right? Yeah.
So it's just indoor, outdoor.
Yeah, I'm really stoked about that. And we were able to move some of our big fridges that were taking up a lot of space down into an office down the stairs and really open up the space. And I think it's feeling really good.
And
Really good.
you're thinking about allowing people back in.
They're in. They're in. They are. Yeah.
In.
Yeah. They're back in. We have some powerful air filters going upstairs and downstairs.
Yeah.
I think with the coronavirus pandemic,
easing.
I think it's teaching society that similarly to when we needed to filter water to get rid of the pathogens that were really harming society, I think that air filtration is going to become very important. If we have air filtration, it's going to help. And also, I mean, I still mask before I go traveling. I just don't want to get sick in general. And one of the benefits is that having that opportunity to mask and people don't look at you like you're a criminal. Before the pandemic, if you masked up, it was really weird.
Yeah.
It was really weird. Now, if you do it, it's like, oh, that person's making a personal choice. People might give you a hard time, but that's okay.
I can walk into the bank wearing sunglasses, a hat, and a mask, and no one bats an eye.
Right?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. I actually think about
10
that
years ago,
sometimes.
they'd look like you.
They'd be like, take it off, take it off. Yeah, you are not.
Well,
you are not allowed.
It is technically illegal to wear a hat and sunglasses.
It is.
To a bank,
yeah,
but not now.
Not masks. It's okay. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Maybe not a balaclava.
Maybe not.
Yeah. There you go.
Lovely.
You like it?
It feels like it should have been 4-1, JV.
JV, you should try this.
I like to add notes about things that I don't know anything about. Speaking of which, there's a great transition into matcha.
Yeah.
Something I know virtually nothing about.
Right. Oh, you go. I want to go there, but what are we tasting? This is like your big trick test today. Let's see. Do you think he's going to get it?
Milan Xiang.
Milan Xiang?
No.
Maybe. Probably. Some of it. About like 1/100. This is actually a mixture of all of our 2022 samples.
Oh, so it was another... Jared, this is the first time you've actually got me.
I did.
Yeah. He tries to trick
really
me.
Excited.
And previously, dealing with teas that I know about, I've been able to dodge all of these. This is the first time that I lose. Congratulations. I didn't know it was Fedora Day. I thought it was Mustache Day. So I'm ill-prepared.
I'm patting myself on the back.
I thought it was Mustache Day. Turns out it was Fedora Day.
It was
anyway,
Fedora
tip
Day.
Of the imaginary.
There you go. Yeah, we could have.
You win.
You could have.
I'll have to get
win.
one. I'll have to buy one.
The teas that we get, of course, we don't get to drink them all, and so there's about once a year, rather than just looking at them and watching them go bad, we make what we call spectrum. So a variety of different teas that we put into our kombucha.
Yeah.
And then we do a fermentation of, this is actually a combination of various pu'er, various danchong oolongs, various
I can taste the danchong.
There's some fresh oolongs in there from Anzi. There's some autumnal Darjeelings in there. There's some Yunnan Golden Needle in here. There is there's such a montage. There's about, I would say, at least 150 different teas in here.
All right.
So it was impossible for you to get it right.
Well, I'm good, but I'm not quite that good.
You picked out the Milan Xiang.
It was in there.
It is
I just forgot about the other 149.
Yeah. Okay. We'll keep going. I don't even know what they are. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's going to be lovely.
The danchong is prominent, as I can taste. Yeah. Once you explain it, it's sort of, but no way was that going to get guessed.
No, I know, right? That was super unfair. Okay, so the purpose of the day, and what I asked Eric to join me, quite impromptu. He agreed to join, which is sweet. He was in this morning doing a cupping for the JagaSilk team. We tasted one of his lovely 1980 pu'er teas from the. Is it the same people, House of Joe, or is this
no, this is from my principal tea teacher collection. He Zaibing is a famous Taiwanese tea collector and also highly influential in China.
Was he on the 2020 tea festival?
He doesn't really do.
Where you just talk to somebody on the
No,
phone?
that was Tony Chen. He's the owner of She's the How, or Daughter Tea.
Okay.
They know each other, but my teacher wouldn't. He doesn't really do that.
Fair. You know, it's
Yeah.
different Stokes for different folks, for sure. Yeah.
I would be hard pressed to get him on the phone. If I want to see him, I have to go there, and he's a great guy, and taught me tea personally while antique tea while we were translating his society's book, Dao, from Tea to Tao, which is available if you want a free PDF of the book that I helped translate. It's on their website, which I'd probably have to put a link to in the comments. I think it's Tea Tao Love or something like that.
Do it. Yeah.
I'd have to.
I think that's actually a really cool part of your resume. Is this book tea book translation?
I found the original uncorrupted translation before it was. We had a team of PhDs.
Can I get a copy?
Absolutely.
Like how do I if somebody wants to get it again? You just said it, but how am I going to go and look at it? I'm just going to click on a link in the description, not in the description, in the comment section.
I'll leave a link in the comments.
Okay.
And I'm also there was an original version that we produced, and then later it was adjusted for accuracy by a team of doctor sort of philosophy doctors of very famous universities in Taiwan. But I felt that affected some of the readability and some of the understanding, because the linguistic systems of Chinese and English are quite different. Sometimes you have to, for the sake of smoothness or understanding, sometimes you have to not go with a total literal translation. I'm not sure if it's that way with Japanese, but so on one hand you have more higher readability, and then other you have actual technical one-to-one accuracy.
So you went with readability?
Well, yeah,
or a combination.
I took a little poetic license here and there.
Okay.
And
I think if I was going to do translations, I think I don't know, readability is so key.
Yeah. And we were really goosed on really old tea all the time, so we got real into the waxing poetic thing. But it's an interesting book, and I'm looking to release the original copy as an ebook, probably.
Sweet.
Partially through the website. That hasn't happened yet. We have to cobble some pictures into it to make it a little less text dense, but that's something that's on the horizon, and it offers not so much. There's some technical knowledge which is expressed in the book, like how to taste water, how different ways of appreciating teas, but primarily it's a spiritual experience and documenting people drinking some of the oldest and rarest teas in the world, and then documenting their sort of meditative experiences and their journey. And things like, I took a sip of this tea and closed my eyes and the world exploded into a land of a million Buddhas and stuff like that. So if you're into that sort of thing, if you're not afraid of the hippie side of the mind, shall we say,
right,
then this may be the book for you.
If
you're looking for a technical manual, then there are probably some other options out there.
Well, it sounds like it fits right in with your whole philosophy.
It fits into my vibe.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I actually think you're more highly technical than you even realize. But
I try to hide it.
Right. Sure. So I'm gonna get a little scale. So what we're going to do is we're going to be making some matcha. Now, the whole idea here is that, and we're really careful to say this all the time, is that you really want to understand that there's so many different ways of making matcha. Just like there's lots of different ways of making tea. So we kind of have had to, over time, identify where we're at with our style. And I think that what it is it's very food service oriented. So when you're making tea, I think that it's an experience. And I really think that those watching that want to have an amazing experience are going to really enjoy seeking out teachings through the Japanese tea ceremony. I think they're fascinating and beautiful. Ours is very scientific. It's very efficiency based. It's to enjoy the tea for sure, but in a very JagaSilk way. So when I talk about it as a company that provides tea to a lot of cafes.
Yeah.
So when we're making tea, we want to understand it in this sort of context and how it will perform in that context. That being said, there are going to be, again, lots of different ways of doing this. So I want to show you some things. For example, this is a chashaku. Okay. This is a matcha jawan or chawan. Okay. Then we also have something that we're not going to use today. This is a chakoshi that's used in the tea ceremony. And what will happen is the master will actually put the matcha through this sieve, and then they'll pour that into a natsume, which is like a very small canister, and then that will be what the students are using. Just one moment, sorry.
You mentioned matcha for food service, and I alluded to Samovar Tea in San Francisco. We're not here to plug Samovar.
Yeah.
You know, they're in San Francisco. We're up here.
Sure.
Far. We have enough distance between us. That they offer a program for food service in California for servers to do tableside matcha service. And I think it's something like between a 20 and 30-hour course in order to become proficient in making matcha for that sort of application. Do you have experience training people for
we actually teamed up with Camosun College.
Okay.
And we did a training course with them to train restaurateurs.
My question is, how much time, can you put it into it, quantify it in hours, or is it?
I think it's hard because we do a 2.5-hour course.
Yeah.
That's sort of an introduction that just gives you the pieces to start practicing.
Yeah.
And then we do what we call a matcha journeyman certification, where it's another 2 hours for them to come in and go through some different tests and to just, show that they can achieve some of the things that we talked about in the original introductory course. And then we have a third one we call Matcha Adept. And it's just working with the magician sort of mentality, apprentice, journeyman, and adept.
Okay.
And then they can show that they can understand the different matchas side by side, blind. They can make a good texture. They can, for food service, it's also important to make the fusion drink, the matcha latte, so they're comfortable with it. But more importantly, the traditional matcha, understanding the difference between, say, usucha and koicha, what kind of water temperatures and water volumes and tea mass you're going to be using for the different drinks. Understanding how to take care of your tea, how to choose and take care of your tools, all of these things. I think it would be hard for me to say, hey, do 30 hours and you're done personally. I like the idea of breaking it up into pieces, but it's not always practical, right? Like if you're learning how to make tea, I think that it's a journey that takes quite a long time. And I think you get to a point and you're like, it never ends, right? So you're constantly trying to improve, but there's a point where you can be like, okay, I feel pretty comfortable serving it anyways, right? And I think I can do a decent job at making it taste good. I think that's our goal.
Is anyone in Victoria currently doing, like in a restaurant setting, doing a tableside matcha service? Or because this seems like, apart from taking matcha lattes and that sort of smoothies and things like that out of the mix,
right,
which isn't really.
Yeah. So are people making a traditional matcha?
Is anyone doing it outside of the shop
where they bring it out to the table and they whisk it there? No, we had at one point the Hotel Grand Pacific was serving our matcha that way, where they would bring it out to the table and they would.
Was that pre-pandemic or?
This was like 10 years ago. Yeah.
It's hard to get people onto it and to maintain
and
you
it.
Often in our experience, you get one person to come in and sort of spearhead a program, and then if that person moves on or leaves, then programs tend to.
I call them the champion. When you lose a tea champion, then I find when I lose and gain clients is with management and ownership changes.
Yes.
But also with the tea champion changes. Most of the time, if I have a good dynamic with the owner, then when their tea enthusiast leaves, they'll take over for a while until they find somebody that can fit the bill. Yeah. So it's definitely a process. Yeah, and I want to get there again. I actually have a goal to take some of our courses and break them up into more digestible pieces that people can watch in videos.
Yeah.
And then they can kind of take like an online course, that kind of idea.
Yeah.
But
And one thing I find with customers, clients, and friends is that often they can be reticent to present tea to friends and family, and then of course strangers is even more so, and because of a lack of confidence in presentation. So
Right.
having experience and just knowing a few tricks, being able to answer a few basic questions is really helps people a lot. As with any industry or any
and then
activity.
it's been a process of learning, like I guess any business, where we can find our sustainability from like economic sustainability.
Yeah.
Like I have a vision and a goal and an idea of how I want to provide a service that doesn't always fit within the current social norms. Do I want to conform 100% to those current social norms? No. Do I want to pay my rent and have groceries? Yes. So then it's interesting to just like, how much can I sort of find my own way within that?
I got an idea for you. I'm going to put on my marketing hat.
Okay. All right.
So we're going to take a large container of protein powder.
Yeah.
We're going to take a double-barreled shotgun loaded with matcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're going to fire it in there.
Yeah.
And then we're going to blend it.
Yeah,
We're going to sell it at the gyms. We're going to get someone to go in with a backpack, with like a matcha backpack, and just spray it into people's mouths. How's that sound? No,
no, maybe we'll hold off on that.
No,
I think we'll hold off on the shotgun matcha. Yeah. No,
it's going to be huge.
It's gonna be huge. So
just think about the gains.
I hear you. I hear you. I've made some. So I've made some compromises that haven't necessarily been at. We probably need to invest in this kind of heavy ammunition so that we can properly make compromises. But for example, this is a hishaku. And it's gorgeous.
Lovely.
And it's meant for scooping the water out of your tea kettle and pouring it onto your tea. I want to use these. They're challenging because they're quite delicate. And they're very long. And these cost about $100 each. They're very hard to make perfectly balanced. And, you can get them in Japan, kind of not as well-made ones for about 3,000 yen. You could get them directly from Mr. Kubo. And they're going to cost you probably more around the 6,000 yen. There's a bit of a markup, of course, when I bring them in.
Sure.
But when you use them, I think that they introduce some bamboo flavor to the water, which I think is missing and something that I want to see.
Okay.
I've been trying to find somebody who can just make this for me without the handle, and I think I could achieve a lot of what I'm looking for, where I could just portion into the cup. But it's such a beautiful handle. And you know what's really cool? And this is not planned on by the folks at Fellow, but you can actually fit into the kettle the hishaku.
Genius.
Right? And then in the tea ceremony, you're supposed to be able to leave it like that. Yeah. You can do that. And then when you leave it like that, it's just gonna empty out. So it's kind of awesome.
That is.
That hishaku I have replaced with a temperature variable kettle. So that's one of my compromises. Okay, this keeps the temperature at a constant temperature.
What's our temperature for this particular matcha today?
For Kyoto, I like 60 degrees centigrade. This is just personal preference, but a lot of people often feel in the industry that Kyoto, not finished firing, more fragile, less forgiving, requires a lower temperature to really bring out those aromatics along with the wonderful umami. If your tea's processed in Fukuoka, they're going to steam it a little bit longer. So instead of 30 seconds during the kill green process, like it is in Kyoto, 20 to 30 seconds, they'll go closer to 45 seconds. And that deepens the sort of development of sugar. You're going to have
makes
more
a bit more resilient to temperature.
And also they finish fire, which they don't do in Kyoto. So when they're done in Kyoto, most of the residual moisture is gone when it finishes its time in the Tensha factory. It's still ara tencha, so rough tencha. It's going to be further processed into the tencha that you're going to mill. But that's a process of cutting it more to size and further deveining and destemming, rather than what they do in Fukuoka, which is once they're there, they're also going to put it through what looks like a coffee roaster. We have one in our shop. It's a tea roaster. Sometimes people use like an oven system. It's like a bunch of trays that you may have seen in Taiwan, because a lot of different origin countries use similar paraphernalia for finishing their teas. But there's often these gas powered ovens, but in Japan, it's more normal to have the gas tea roasters. So I'm going to make this with 60 centigrade water. This is going to be our Okumidori Okuda. So just show that to the camera there. So Okumidori Okuda. This is going to come out on a regular rotation. It's a regular part of our menu. Another sort of compromise we've made is we've switched from the chashaku to the measuring spoon. Okay. Now, I know that you don't like metal with your tea, so you should use this. It's actually probably better. And
I have one.
Oh, amazing. And I use this only because a leveled off teaspoon is very close to 2 grams, and it gives my cafe customers a lot more consistency between the people making the tea, which is very important for cost management and for efficiency. When you're making it at home, of course, you have a little bit more leeway. You could make it stronger one day, weaker the next, or like many tea ceremony masters, you don't even need a measuring spoon or scale because you get so good at it that you're accurate to the 0.1 gram. Right? Like that's awesome. And I have huge respect for that. But I also, and this is actually a change that I think is better and an improvement, is rather than using that sieve that I showed you to start with, I like to use this sieve. And then I found that a finer sieve improves on the flavor because you have more surface area exposed to that liquid. And so you get a nicer, richer extraction. The other thing is you're only breaking apart the amount of tea that you need for that one serving. So you're only sieving 2 grams rather than a bunch of tea in advance that you're then going to have put into a natsume that, in my opinion, is being exposed a little bit more to oxidation potential. Does this make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So this I'm happy with.
Okay.
Bowls, you could choose something like this. This is a bowl from
looks
a potter.
like a modest bowl, modest bowl.
This is a potter in France, Anthony Lagarde. This is a wonderful local Japanese potter.
I like that really wild green one.
This is Hiro-san.
Yes, this is what I would choose personally.
All right.
Look at this amazing,
You want to show that?
amazing sort of tones and
Still have 3 wholesale
things going on here.
Thank you. You know, this one we can never get more because this potter is no longer making pottery because he had some health issues happen, which was very sad.
And let's be honest, this could never be recreated exactly.
No,
that's
I mean,
that's
these
a
are
one
his,
of a kind.
These are his 3 bowls that I have.
Yeah. So if this, this one is again, this is magical.
Yeah. Right.
Is this something that someone could purchase from you, or are you hanging on to these?
These are priceless. I'm hanging on to them.
I agree.
Yeah. No, these are. You know, there's our friends at Camellia Sinensis have a wonderful Quebec potter. I think they did a fantastic job. And it's this kind of beautiful red bowl that reminds me of like a lacquered bowl.
Also,
I can show the camera.
attractive.
Yeah, right. I use this one a lot. I love it. But
I am attracted to the one-off.
Yeah, right. I am too.
One of a kind.
So with all of this in mind, I'm going to show you our style.
Yeah.
Knowing that you can obviously adjust this for the home. We've been doing a new format. The new format releases in 2 parts. So if you're watching part 1, you want to be going to part 2 after we're done talking here.